right, good morning, Uplift Church. I'm glad you guys are excited. I'm pumped. I don't know, this entire atmosphere, and just to see my kids excited about church is awesome. Because, and I know that I've said this throughout this series, I wasn't one of those kids that got up on Sunday morning and went, we get to go to church. Yeah, I was more like, do we have to go? So one day I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to lay here, and they're going to have to drag me to church. So I laid there, and I just kept laying there. Mom came in, and she said, all right, breakfast is ready. And usually on Sunday mornings, we would have something, you know, a big to-do breakfast, whether it be pancakes and sausage or gravy and biscuits and so forth. And I thought, I'm just going to lay here. And so I kept laying there, and I kept laying there, and they let me lay there. To the point to where they came in and said, all right, it's time to go. And I was like, well, I hadn't ate breakfast. And Mom said, tough, you missed it, get up. Yes, ma'am. So I got up and ready, and we went to church. And she went. Mom always carried these big packs of double mint gum. And I called it like church gum because Mom always had it. And I thought, okay, I'm going to get me some double mint church gum to help with my hunger. She said no. She said you should have got up. So next Sunday morning when Mom said, breakfast is ready, I was the first one sitting at the table with my hands washed ready to eat. And it just seemed like so excited that we can be excited about church. And one thing that, you know, Tony has shared with us this morning is that, you know, that we can have fun. There's times that we can have fun. And unfortunately, there's times in life that life is not so much fun. I mean, there's times in life when it's so much fun, like when you have the birthday parties when you're younger. When you're older, you're like, come on, just wait a day or two. But when you're young, you know, you're really excited. We get excited about Christmas and open up presents, or somebody gives you a nice gift. We get excited about new cars until we write the payment, but we're still excited about that new smell. We get excited about new clothes and so many things. But there's other times in life that we're looking at people, and we're looking at all the stuff that they've got. Everything that they have, looking at their lifestyle and their marriage, or we're looking at their kids, or we're like, man, they've got it made. But what we don't always see is the blood, sweat, and tears that people pour into their lives to be able to get to where they're at. And so what we've done over the past few weeks, we've been talking about what it means, these superheroes in the Bible, and all the blood, sweat, and tears that they poured into their lives to be able to have the outcome that they got. We look at people and see rich and famous people, like, man, they've got it made. They've got all their stuff together. And they've got it made. But what we don't see is everything that they put into it. Last week we learned, about Moses and how busy he was, and he had to have the right people around him. Then before that, we learned about faith. That if we're going to do anything for God, that we're going to have faith and do that blood, sweat, and tears. People are going to kind of punch holes in our faith, and it's going to be hard. And the first week we talked about, whenever we want to do something, it's like we want to go ahead and jump the gun. But it took Joseph 13 years before he became a ruler. 13 years he waited on the promise of God. 13 years. And what is amazing is that along the way, we get some hits. That's why we played that Rocky clip for you this morning. And I like what he says, life ain't all sunshine and rainbows. And he's talking this to his kid. Because there's times in your life that you're going to take some hits. It's going to be hard. And we don't like to think, we think like, oh, whenever we take hits, that means because something like my wife is crazy or something like that. We try to blame it on somebody else, not thinking that it may be our fault, or it could just be life itself. When a boxer steps into the ring, he's got his boxing gloves on, he's got his fight shorts on, he's ready. He knows he's going to take some hits. Do you know in your life that you're going to take some hits? Muhammad Ali suffered one of the boxing diseases, and man, of course, he died, pretty early age. And he took all these blows. When a boxer steps in the ring, he knows he's going to take some hits. Check out this picture. This is Muhammad Ali. Well, it was Muhammad Ali. I think twice it's done that to me. Muhammad Ali, he's standing over top of somebody. And it's almost like he's standing over top of him like, what'd you think was going to happen? You stepped in the ring, with Muhammad Ali. And, what do you think is going to happen? As we go through life, there's times that we're going to be hit, and we're going to get hit. It's going to be hard. Life is going to hit you at some point, and it is going to be extremely tough. And my question to you is, what do you do when the going gets tough? Now, what most people doing, and what you may be familiar with, what most people do when the life gets hard, when the rubber meets the road, what most people do is they quit. They quit. They'll give up on the family, give up on the marriage, they'll give up on their career, job. They'll just quit. What do you do when life gets tough? I mean, do you keep moving forward or do you quit? Do you quit? See, quitting is so easy. I don't know how many people all across the United States every year they say, you know what, I'm going on a diet. And like, man, I've got my game plan, I got my exercise bike, I bought my tights, if that's what you wear, I got my nice shirt, I got my new shoes, we're going to exercise, we're going to lose weight. We're going to lose weight as a family. We're going to get rid of the white bread and it's going to be all wheat. We're not getting the whole milk anymore. We got skim milk in our house now. Chocolate is gone. Oh, a Twinkie. Bam, it's gone. And it's like, you get all this game plan on and man, it's just so easy to quit. What do you do when life hits you hard? Because I know every one of you here today, life at some point has hit you and it's hit you hard. You've taken some blows. You've got some scars. I was laughing yesterday at my girls because we were driving back somewhere and they're comparing scars. Some was on bicycle wrecks and some of them are fingernail scratches. They're comparing scars. And in the back of my mind, I was like, you want some scars? I got some scars. Let me tell you. Growing up, me and my brother are pretty close in age. We got some scars. And I'm sure you got some scars. Maybe some you can see and some you can't see. What do you do when the going gets tough? You got these scars. You got these wounds all over you. What do you do when the going gets tough? Today I want to show you a superhero in the Bible and what he did when the going went tough. And I mean, it's just an amazing story. This is Nehemiah. This is a superhero in the Bible. And I have a feeling that God is going to speak to you today. This is an Old Testament, Nehemiah chapter 1. It's an amazing story. And what happened, you'll see this in just a second. This is in Nehemiah chapter 1. We're going to start with verse 3. Today I'm going to go, it's a lot of scripture. We're going to go through a lot of chapters. But I really want you to see the whole synopsis of this story. And so we're going to start in chapter 1, but looking at verse 3. And it says, they said to me, things are not going well for those who returned from the province of Judah. They are in great trouble and disgrace. The wall of Jerusalem has been torn down, and the gates have been destroyed by fire. And this time about Nehemiah, when I heard this, I sat down and wept. In fact, for days I mourned, fasted, and prayed to the God of heaven. Amazing story. This is Nehemiah. What he has found out, what he came to discover is that his hometown Jerusalem, they had this city wall that guarded the city. And back then, the wall was a testament that your city was safe and secure. It was a testament of how well it was doing. Every city had a wall. And the wall prevented from people you didn't want in from getting in. And what had happened now is that there were gaps in the wall, and it was in rubble, and it laid in ruins. His love for this city, and we see that now he is broken. He is heartbroken for his city, to the point he is so distraught. He is in such distress that he mourned, and he fasted, and he prayed to God. I mean, he was upset. That's how messed up he was about this. I mean, it hit him hard. And maybe something has hit your family really hard. Maybe it's been lately. Maybe it's been something a year ago and you haven't been able to get over. Maybe it's within your marriage, or maybe it's within your church. Maybe it's within your job. You had something and it hit hard. And maybe it feels like there's some things in your life that's just laying in ruins. And that's the word that the Bible uses here. It's laying in ruins. It is in great distress. And I love the wall. Many thanks to Brooke Gerard and Kroger for getting me these grocery bags to build the wall. This is kind of just to simulate what their wall looked like. And it laid in ruins. There were holes, things wasn't put together. It was in a mess. And so what Nehemiah did was, he got on his knees and he just mourned. He was so upset. He mourned and then he fasted and he prayed. He's like, God, we got to do something about this. We got to do something about this. But God never said a word. You can read all through these chapters of Nehemiah and God never speaks. You never hear a word from God. But here's this one man who sold out to God. He loves God and he loves his city. And maybe you're here today and that's what we can say the same thing about you, that you love God and you love your family. You love your family. And when anything comes against your family, you're ready to put your boxing gloves on. It's like the way your mama is with your kids. Any mama is with their kids. And you let somebody say something about their kid, I mean, it's on. They're going to come out. You love your family. And Nehemiah loved his city. He loved it so much that it tore him all to pieces. In fact, what he ended up doing, he went and found favor with the king. And the king ended up financing everything. They paid to rebuild the wall. And so Nehemiah, he left to go look at the wall. He left with this great financer from the king, and he was going to see what had happened. He was going to see the wall himself. And he was going to examine what it was going to take to fix it. To fix it. You got any fixers in your family? Some of you are those fixers because the person beside you is pointing to you. You're the fixer. If there's any problem, you immediately start trying to fix things. I'm a fixer. I'm a fixer. And so usually what my wife tells me is, when she's going to tell me a problem, she'll say, now I don't want you to fix, I just want you to listen. And the whole time I'm sitting there on my hands, I'm going, I'm trying to keep my mouth shut. Nehemiah, he wants to fix this. And so he goes out, and this is in chapter 2, verse 11. He leaves the king's presence, and he's on this journey to go back home, and he sees there. And once he's there, this is verse 11, chapter 2, verse 11. It says, so I arrived in Jerusalem 3 days later. And this is where it gets unique. He says in verse 12, I slipped out during the night, taking only a few others with me. I had not told anyone about the plans God had put in my heart for Jerusalem. We took no pack animals with us except the donkey that I was riding. Now this is unique. Now if you are Nehemiah right now and you've got this great plan, okay, I got this unlimited financing from the king. We are going to rebuild this wall. We're going to fix all the holes in it. We're going to rebuild this wall. But Nehemiah keeps his mouth shut. I find this very odd. I mean, if I had financing by the king, he gave me, $1 gabillion to go rebuild a wall, I'm telling somebody, man, guess what I got? I got $100 million from the king. We're going to go rebuild a wall. You in? You in? I mean, you share stuff like that. I mean, you find $10 on the street and you tell everybody you know. You tell people you don't know. Man, I found $10 at the gas station laying right there. $10. Could you imagine having a full unlimited finances from the king to rebuild a wall? I mean, you're going to be jumping at the bit to tell somebody. We are the hardest people to keep secrets. We can't do it. We even give presents to people early because we can't keep it. You all do it. You're so excited. And you give it to them. You're like, I love you so much and I just couldn't wait to give this to you. So here you go. We get excited, but yet he goes out. He slips out. He doesn't tell anybody. He's secretly going and doing this. And here's what I wanted you to understand. We need to be very careful when and what we share with people. It may not be the right time, nor the right place. And that's why Nehemiah, he slips out. He's going to go see this for himself. He is spending a long time with God. He's still in his time of mourning, fasting, and praying. He's spending time with God. And he's getting to examine the wall, and he's getting a game plan ready. Be cautious who you share information with. Be cautious with that. Because once you share information with somebody, you can never take it back. Be very careful when you're starting to tell somebody you're ragging on your husband or you're ragging on your wife, because once that's said, you can never take it back. It's done. It's done. So he goes out and he slips out and he's examining the wall. And he does end up telling people. He does in verse 16. It says, the city officials did not know that I had been out there or what I was doing, for I had not yet said anything to anyone about my plans. I had not yet spoken to the Jewish leaders, the priests, the nobles, the officials, or anyone else in the administration. He hadn't told nobody. He's kept this to himself very quietly. But then he gathered everybody together. But verse 17, it says, But now I said to them, you know very well what trouble we are in. Jerusalem lies in ruins, and its gates have been destroyed by fire. Let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem and end this disgrace. Then I told them, verse 18, then I told them about how gracious the hand of God had been on me, and about my conversation with the king. And they replied at once, yes, let's rebuild the wall. So they began the good work. This is awesome. So he rallied everybody together. Guys, you see the wall? We're in disgrace. Let's rebuild it. I got financing from the king. Let's rebuild it. Like, all right, here's our pep talk. Let's go rebuild the wall. So it's almost, I picture it as like a football huddle. And you see all these guys coming together. And he's got all these nobles and all these administrators, all these leaders together. And he's like, guys, here's the game plan. Here's what we're going to do. we're going to rebuild this wall. And they're like, yeah. And I can just picture them being bounced. Yeah, let's go do it. Let's go start right now. And they're getting excited about fixing their city. And we get excited about whenever we take a step of faith and we're doing what God wants us to do. We get excited when we have good news and we're moving forward with our family. We get excited about that. And we just automatically assume that everybody else should be excited too. Just because you get a new car, we're like, man, everybody else should be excited too. They ain't. They don't like you. Nor your new car. Look at what happens. This is verse 19. But when Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem, the Arab, heard of our plan, they scoffed contemptuously. What are you doing? Are you rebelling against the king? They asked. What are you doing? We're going to rebuild the wall. And they didn't want this done. They wanted free pass. They didn't want to have anybody restricting anything that they were doing. These guys were not good people at all. And here they are upset. They are upset. They say, here, are you rebelling against the king? Are you rebelling against the king? So they're going up against Nehemiah. They're going up against Nehemiah. Have you ever had somebody to try to recruit you to be against somebody else? They're telling you their story and they're saying, man, you need to be on my side and here's what's happening, here's what's going on. And they're trying to recruit you to be on their side, to understand their side of the story, to recruit you so you can be against them. But may I caution you, because Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem, guess who they're going up against? They're trying to recruit Nehemiah to go up against God. Be very careful as you go through life who tries to recruit you against somebody else, because you very well face God as your enemy. I mean, who wants to go up against God? You can put all the best boxing gloves on you got, but when you go up against God, you're going down. You will lay down on the mat. God wins every time. Every time. Every time. Why would we go against God? And that's what they're going up against God. And I love this. These guys are obviously upset, and they're trying to recruit Nehemiah. He's got this game plan. We're going to rebuild this wall. We're going to rebuild the wall. And now they're trying to recruit Nehemiah. And like, man, what are you doing? You need to get on our side here. And they're going up against God. Now, what do you think is going to happen? These three guys, are they going down or not? They ain't going to gain no ground, but they don't stop. Look at verse 20. I love Nehemiah's response. He said, but I replied, the God of heaven will help us succeed. We are his servants. I love this. We, his servants, will start rebuilding this wall. I love this. But you have no share of legal right or historic claim in Jerusalem. You know what he's telling them? This ain't none of your business. You can shut your mouth, because this right here don't even apply to you. You're not even a Jew. Why do people get all up in your business when they ain't even your family? It ain't none of their business, right? Is your last name Johnson? That's my last name. You can say your last name. Is your last name Smith? My granny ain't none of your business, right? What happened with us taking a stand for what we believe in? And here's Nehemiah. He's taking a stand. You ain't got no right. I love what he said. Can you just see him being bold? He said, you have no share, no legal right or historic claim in Jerusalem. What are you doing here to begin with? Get out of here. This makes me think of what happens with Jesus and Peter. And he said, get behind me, Satan. Get behind me, Satan. Oh, but we're living in a society that everybody's feelings matter and we can't say what we really mean to say. Oh, yes, you can. It's all throughout the Bible. You can take a stand for something. And you better fight for what you believe in. You better fight for your family. Because there's going to be people that's going to be sticking their nose where it doesn't belong. And here, I love it, Sanballat and these three guys, man, he just wounded them. So you can see the boxing gloves going on here, and man, this just jabbed right back. Say, man, you ain't got no right. What you talking about? Shut your mouth. And they go on. We're not going to listen to you. So they get everybody together and they start rebuilding the wall. And I kind of like I'll just read it. This is Nehemiah chapter 3. Nehemiah chapter 3. So I told you we're going to kind of go really fast through the whole book of Nehemiah. Nehemiah chapter 3. It says, Then Elisha, the the high priest and the other priests started to rebuild at the sheep gate. They dedicated it and set up its doors, rebuilding the wall as far as the Tower of the 100, which they dedicated the Tower of Hanel. People from the town of Jericho worked next to them, and beyond them was Zechariah, the son of Imri. And you can read this entire chapter in chapter 3. You can see how everybody worked. And what they did, they divided up the work. They divided up the work. And everybody was rebuilding the wall. And so some people would work on one spot, and other people would work on another spot. And so they just was rebuilding the wall, and it was financed from the king. And you know what, I ain't going to put that back there because it's going to fall down. But anyway, they was rebuilding the wall, and everybody was putting their part back together. And you can read all throughout that chapter 3. And everybody was at work. And it looks like everything is going great. And I know that you have these times in your life, you're like, man, everything is going great. The bills are paid. There's food in the groceries. Granny lived another day. I like my husband. He doesn't smell that bad. The kids cleaned up the room. I got the oil changed. Tires rotated. It's a great day. Everybody should be happy. Everybody should be happy. But not everybody gets happy. Nehemiah chapter 4. So all this progress is going, and they're completing the walls, and they're dedicating these different parts of it. In Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 1, here's this Sanballat guy. Sanballat was very angry. He told him, he said, listen, this ain't none of your business. None of your business. But he was very angry. When he learned that they were rebuilding the wall, he flew into a rage, and he mocked the Jews, saying in front of his friends and the Samaritan army officers, what does this bunch of poor, feeble Jews think they're doing? Do they think they can build a wall in a single day by just offering a few sacrifices? Do they actually think they can make something of stone from a rubbish heap, and charred ones at that? Then he got his other friends going. You have friends that feed off each other? So here's verse 3. He said, then Tobiah the Ammonite, who was standing beside him, remarked, yeah, that stone wall would collapse even if a fox would walk along top of it. Like, what is this guy even saying? I mean, do you see the humor in this? These guys are talking, and they're talking trash against Nehemiah, who represents God. So they're trash talking God. And here they are, they're like, man, they don't know what they're doing. What do these poor, feeble Jews think they're doing with a bunch of rubbish? And that other guy's going over, yeah, that's right. And if a fox got on it, it'll fall down too. You're like, dude, it's rocks. How big is your fox? We need to be careful. As we're going through life and we're in this battle for life, okay? We need to be very cautious because not everyone that speaks wisely. That's worth writing down. Remember that. Because not everyone that speaks and speaks to you will speak wisely. You're like, man, a fox is going to knock this down? Okay, Incredible Hulk, yeah. Superhero Sunday, yeah. Incredible Hulk can knock this thing down. Maybe Superman. Batman would drive some more of his tanks through it. I mean, they can come down. But a fox, and I can think about, I look at this from Nehemiah's perspective, and he's hearing this, and I'm like, man, you're not going to believe what this guy said. Tobiah, you're not going to believe what he said. He said that if a fox got on top of that wall, it would crumble down. And if I'm Nehemiah, I'm thinking, what's that guy smoking? I mean, you got rocks. We're establishing it. It's very good. It's established. It's well built. I mean, I don't understand what he's saying. Like, but look at what Nehemiah does. I love this response. He doesn't go back at him. He's already told him to mind your own business. He already told him, he had no legal right here. But look what Nehemiah does. This is verse 4. He said, then I prayed. One of the greatest weapons we have in our arsenal as Christians is prayer. Whenever something comes against us, we ought to pray to the God of heaven. Look at this. He said, then I prayed, hear us, O God, for we are being mocked. May their scoffing fall back on their own heads, and may they themselves become captives in a foreign land. Do not ignore their guilt, and do not blot out their sins, for they have provoked you to anger here in front of the builders. So listen, God, you got to protect my builders. They're hearing all their rubbish talk. All their smack talk, they're talking against you, God. So I'm turning them over to your wrath. You don't be turned over to the wrath of God? That's what Nehemiah's doing. He's like, man, I'm turning you over. I'm turning you over. And God is going to get you. Here he is. He doesn't waste his time with the haters. I love that. How much time do we waste arguing people that we're never going to win a battle with? He already told me, so listen, you have no right. You have no legal right to this. This is none of your business. Then they kept running their mouth. And you know what he said? Nothing. He turned them over to God. Wow, what would happen if we did that? In our lives, if we would turn these situations and turn things over to God. He said, man, then I prayed to the God of heaven. He prayed. He turned it over to God. Man, we're going to see what God does about this. It's a great day. It was a great day. Look at verse 6. It says, at last the wall was completed to half its height around the city, the entire city, for the people had worked with enthusiasm. I love this. People were working, they were working hard, and they were glad to do it. They were excited. They were rebuilding their wall, and they were excited. I never was excited on the farm. The closest I can think of is building a wall is us building a fence around the farm, and that wasn't fun because you had bees and thorns and cow manure. I mean, it was not fun. But whenever you started seeing progress, you set all your posts and you stretch your barbed wire and you start putting the tacks in, you start seeing progress. You're like, oh man, we got 4 strands. This is looking pretty good. I like this. And you start getting this enthusiasm. That was me as a teenager. These guys are building this with enthusiasm. Man, look at how far we come. We've got half this wall built up, giving everybody, fist bumps. Man, let's go. Let's get this thing done. And it looks like everything is going good. And there's times in your life that it looks like everything is going good. Yeah, there's been a little bit of adversity. These people have run their mouth, and they had no business talking. They had no business running their mouth. They had no business doing that. And so Nehemiah, he tried to be the buffer. He tried to keep his builders from hearing it. And then it goes on. Verse 7. You just can't get rid of these 3 guys. But when Sanballat, Tobiah, and the Arabs, the Amorites, and the Ashdodites heard that the work was going ahead, and that the gaps in the wall of Jerusalem were being repaired, they were furious. And they all made plans to come and fight against Jerusalem and throw us into confusion. Now, I thought this was odd. All Nehemiah is doing is what he feels like he ought to be doing. And now, it's just opposition. It just keeps coming against him. Here they're rebuilding the wall. And now all these people, what they're planning on doing, they're going to go to war against Jerusalem. Here they are, they're building the wall, minding their own business. And all these other people are the ones who's coming against them. All these other people are the ones who's arguing and fighting back and forth. You feel like every time you take a step towards God, something happens, you end up taking 2 steps back. We all have that. And it's called life. So look at what he does. Verse 9. This should be no surprise. But we prayed to our God. Again, the first thing he turns to is prayer. But we prayed to our God and guarded the city day and night to protect ourselves. I love this. He didn't quit rebuilding the wall. That's what they're wanting him to do. They're trying to intimidate them to stop building the wall. And he's like, we ain't stopping. We're going to rebuild this wall if it kills us. And so what they do, they set some people up on guard, and they guard the city. And the work is continued. They keep rebuilding the wall. You see all these different obstacles that come the way, all these different things that happen, and he never quits. He never stops. He keeps moving forward. He addressed what needs to be addressed, and he keeps moving forward. He addressed the next thing, and he keeps moving forward. He addresses the next thing, and he keeps moving forward. There's always going to be haters. There's always going to be somebody running their mouth. There's always going to be saying something in your life, man, what are you talking about? A fox is going to walk on that and it's going to fall down. You don't know what you're doing. You can't lay floor tile. What are you talking about? Man, nothing fuels me more than when somebody tells me I can't do something. It's just like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if I inherited it. I don't know where it came from. But if you tell me I can't do something, it's almost like I'm going to kill myself or die trying, one or the other. When I was younger, it got me in trouble. Now that I'm older, it still gets me in trouble. So all these people are coming against, and they're hearing this. They're hearing this. They're like, man, we're going to rebuild this wall. But then they start complaining. Look at verse 10. It says, then the people of Judah began to complain. The workers are getting tired, and there is so much rubble to be moved. We will never be able to build the wall all by ourselves. We will never be able to rebuild the wall by ourselves. And you say, man, we can't do this. It's getting tough. Do you hear the whining? Do your kids ever come and tell you this? Oh, I can't clean my room. There's so much stuff. There's so much stuff. There's a piece of toast, and there's my socks. It's so hard. And you're an adult. You're like, well, if you think this is tough, you should be married to your father. And you're like, man, I mean, you just don't know half of it. You don't know because life is tough, and you just don't understand. Wait till you have to work for a paycheck. Wait until you have to your bills and so forth. Like it's so hard. So here comes one of the greatest battles that we face in our life's journey. It's when the battle's from within. See, all the Sanballat and Tobias, all these other guys, that's on the outside. They don't matter. Nehemiah's not wasting his time with those. But now the battle is within. His own people are murmuring. His own people are saying, man, this is hard. They're building this wall like, man, this is not going so well. They're trying to kill us. We better stop. And I can just picture them going to Nehemiah. Nehemiah, I don't know what you're doing, but it's getting hard. They're threatening my family. They're going to take my sheep. I mean, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And so now they're talking back and forth. Like, man, it's so hard work. Or all the rebel, we can't do this. And now they're starting these murmurings amongst each other. And now the enemy is trying to capitalize. Look at verse 11. It says, meanwhile, our enemies were saying, before they know what's happening, we will swoop down on them and kill them and end their work. So now the enemy is hearing word that, they're struggling. They're weak. Now it's time to attack. So now that they're weak, they're arguing back and forth. It seems like not everybody is together. Verse 12. The Jews who lived near the enemy came and told us again and again, they will come from all directions and attack. So what does Nehemiah do? I love this. So I placed armed guards behind the lowest parts of the wall. I love this. So I placed armed guards behind the lowest parts of the wall in the exposed areas, and I stationed the people to stand guard by the families, armed with swords, spears, and bows. I love what he did. So he's been praying all on this time and talking to God, and now he's like, all right, they're going to come at us, we're going to be ready. So they put everybody on guard. But did you see who he put together? This is extremely smart. He says, I stationed the people to stand guard by families. By family. Now, why would he station people together by a family? See, you can put people together and have them to fight in different areas, and that's all great. But I guarantee you, I'm going to fight a whole lot harder when I'm standing beside my wife and my kids. I mean, adrenaline's going to come. I mean, my toenails are going to be fighting for my wife and my kids. And you're going to be doing the exact same. That was one of the great strategies that he did. Don't ever underestimate the power of the family. The family is one of the most powerful units we have in our lives. And we need to fight for them. And so he puts them together. We're going to fight. And we're going to fight together. So he put these families together so that they fight. They're not going to quit. I mean, they're not going to quit fighting whenever they've got, little Susie out there. And I'm just picturing little Johnny and Susie with a slingshot or something. Like, yeah, Dad, I'll go get them. Training his wife to shoot a bow. Can you picture? I mean, they're fighting together as a family. As a family. I love what he did. Don't ever underestimate the power of the family. You need your family. Love your family. Don't ever underestimate the power of your family. Sometimes they'll drive you crazy, and that's okay because sometimes you drive them crazy. Don't ever underestimate the power of the family. The family is a powerful force. The first thing that God established on earth was marriage. The second was the family. I'm telling you. Don't ever underestimate the power of the family. Love your family. Fight for them. So he has these people stationed together all along the wall during the gap. So in this gap, he'd have a family placed there, guarding the workers as they worked. In verse 14, Nehemiah, he says, then as I looked over the situation, I called together the nobles and the rest of the people and said to them, don't be afraid of the enemy. Remember the Lord who is great and glorious, and fight. Fight for your brothers, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your homes. So these people, remember, they're still murmuring amongst each other themselves. They're like, man, this is getting hard. There's too much rubble. So he rallies everybody together. He's like, what are you doing? He's rallying the troops together. And this is like in the last play of the game. They're in the huddle, and he's telling everybody, guys, here's where it matters. He's gathered everybody together like, we need to fight. Fight for your sons, your daughters, your brothers. You're going to fight for your family. And here's when the going gets tough in our lives. What are we going to do? Are we going to lay down? Or are we going to face some blood, sweat, and tears and fight for our family? Because what we need to have the mindset is in our minds is whatever it takes.